Do-do-do. Do-do-do. Well, hello there. How are you doing? Man, I think I walked like 3 miles today. Wow, really hot out there. Super humid also. Can't believe I'm wearing a size large shirt now. It's quite fascinating. What did I have today? I had bacon and a burger patty. That's all I've had today. I think that's all I'll have today. How are you doing this evening? Something that I was really worried about happening has actually happened, and I remember when I was talking about it, people say, "Oh, that's never going to happen." And it's happened. Um, it's about money and intelligence, and something huge has happened, and really almost nobody's talking about it, but it's undeniable. It's not speculative. Um, I almost never dream before getting into the subject matter. I don't mind if you can indulge me for like 2 minutes. I basically never dream. Dreams are unconscious fears, desires, etc. Except I had a nightmare, but it wasn't like a nightmare of something that was unreal. It was something that was real. And of course, I don't care about the psychology actually, but I made a realization of something that I knew. I was just tying the pieces together. I felt like I've been been robbed of seeing or doing anything. I remember after the wife had her giant brain tumor removed, we were living in East Bay in Emeryville, which is just east of San Francisco. I always wanted to see the big trees in Muir Woods, which I recall we drove there, and it's just north of there. And I thought, since it's a public place, that it would be wheelchair accessible, and I'd be able to take her there. I'm a huge fan of trees. And it was a long drive when we got there, and I'm not blaming this on my wife. I was about 20 feet away from the entrance to Muir Woods, but there's no wheelchair accessibility. And so I was about that close to seeing the gigantic trees. And I'll never make my way back there again. It's just too expensive, and nor would I go back just for that. And then I had to pay to make my way up to the Photo Plus convention in New York City. I'm not a fan of New York City, but there are a couple things that I'd like to have seen. I really wanted to see Central Park, or like walk through it a little bit, or walk around it and just look at the architecture. And I was there for 3 or 4 days. It's the Photo Plus convention. And I had to pay to fly up there. They did pay for my hotel room. And I was a huge celebrity there, whatever that is. And I didn't even get to see the Photo Plus convention because I got stopped every 10 feet. And people wanted to shake my hand. And I wanted to see, like some slice of New York City. The parts that people actually would like to visit, like Statue of Liberty. Go down to B&H Photo, which is only like a few blocks away. Or walk through Central Park. And even though I was there for 3.5 days or 4 days, it was 3 or 4, I can't remember, I didn't get to see any of it. It's not that, and I didn't want to see it, it's that I was kept busy being a smiling face that they flew up there. And then an Idaho trip to the Science and Energy Conference, where I flew into Spokane. It was a very horrible trip to Texas, to Spokane, and they took me from a bus to Spokane over to Idaho, Hayden, Idaho. I was like, wow, I'm only like 100 miles away from the Canadian border. And I didn't have a car rental, and they did fly me there, which is understandable. I was like, wow, I'm never going to get a chance to see Idaho again, or this part of the country, because, I'd love to have driven across the border into Canada, just like seeing a, little... No, I didn't get to see anything, so... That was a nightmare I had. I apologize for you indulging me on that. That I just wanted to see, like, maybe rented a car and driven around. There's very beautiful geology around northern Idaho there. I've never been to Idaho before in my life. And I didn't get to see anything other than the inside of that convention hall, where I was the guest lecturer on the secrets of magnets. I didn't get to see anything. So... I've learned my lesson in life that if I ever get a chance to go anywhere again, I know I won't get a chance to see anything that's there. So I will I'm 99.9% certain if anybody ever tries to take me up on going somewhere to do something, that I will not get a chance to see anything that's there. It's like, wow, we're going to have you come out to this awesome place. Like, well, that sounds wonderful. No, but you know, I'm sorry, I had to tell that story. I apologize for that. The Senate senator, his name is Bill, by the way. So the stablecoin issuers will be the largest holders of U.S. treasuries in the entire world. The Genius Act passed by the guy that, remember, he used to call himself a stable genius. You remember when he used to call himself that? I'm a stable genius, which is really, really funny. It's laughable, but I have a good sense of humor. This legitimizes digital currency regime. It passed with any opposition on the right except for Marjorie Taylor Greene. Stablecoin can be regulated by the state. It's completely programmable. You can freeze it and track it. It's absolutely nothing. It's not my opinion. It's a fact. It's nothing but a Ponzi scheme due to BRICS and the collapse of the U.S. currency. This is very, very ingenious, but of course it's totally evil. You know, if you're evil, it's very genius. But if you actually have a sharp mind and you know what's going on and why they're doing it, it, of course, is incredibly evil. This, and nobody online is talking about this. I mean, some people are, but not really. I mean, this is absolutely huge. It is a Ponzi scheme. It's going to change the dollar into a digital collar. Remember that one. It's going to change the dollar into a digital collar. It's nothing but shackles. They can expire. They can be geofenced, which means you can't use it anywhere other than your little area. It's cancelable. You can only use it on certain things. It's programmable. And you're thinking the same thing any common person would think. And that is, well, you know, if it's that bad, we're not going to accept it. Oh, they've figured out every angle to this. They're going to create a huge demand for it, and people are going to be forced to use it. I know you're thinking now, well, how can I be forced to use it? And by the way, this starts in October of this year, October 2025. I forget the name of the bill. It's 147 something something. It passed back in March, where the government's going cashless. Welfare will be on it, Social Security payments, tax refunds, fines. I'm sure they're actually going to put property taxes on it, where you can't actually like write a check out of your bank account. No, you're going to have to use stablecoin. And I'm going to call it what it actually should be called, slave coin. The SC, slave coin. Government's going cashless. Federal government's not going to issue checks any longer ASAP. This, by the way, is happening up in Canada, it's happening in the USA, it's happening in Australia. This is so bad and so incredibly evil. And this is not a hyperbolic statement. I can't stand hyperbolic statements. Can't stand it. The U.S. dollar is failing because of BRICS and the collapse of, and because, well, it's going to be based on U.S. treasuries. Someone tried to make the analogy ignorantly. They said, well, it's like going to a casino and buying some poker chips. You know, the poker chips are backed up by the money that's behind the gate there. And people are like, oh, they're nodding their heads going, yeah. I've heard that being used about this stable coin, which is just a... Well, the problem with that analogy is that it's absolutely perfect because casinos, the entire design and the modus operandi of a casino is to take your money and not give you anything back but bye-bye. You know, you go there and you take your chips, your poker chips or whatever chips, and I don't gamble, I never have in my life, and you lose them at the table. So it doesn't matter if it's backed by anything or not. You know, you spend it. They can literally print at will. You've heard of fractional lending, right? Well, this is fractional lending based upon a new form of currency called stablecoin. It's traceable, geofenced, it can expire. You got to use it or lose it. When you deposit money in the bank, a lot of it gets lent out by the bank to U.S. governments in the form of purchasing U.S. treasuries. Then, of course, the bank sits on those treasuries and earns some interest when the treasuries mature. This Genius Act, which is it should be called the Evil Act. The Genius Act, which is passed, it's already been signed, makes it now so that they'll be able to use those treasuries as reserves to legally mint at will, however much they want, whenever they want. And you're thinking, well, they do that now already, the Fed. And the Fed is not federal, I know that. But this is way worse than that. Way, way, way worse. This is exactly what they're going to do. It's the grand plan to solve the U.S. debt crisis without taxing wealth. Taxing wealth creates an enormous amount of pitfalls. This lets them create a new currency that they could slowly switch over to. It can defer the BRICS problem, the U.S. debt crisis problem, the destabilized U.S. currency. It lets them solve a lot of different problems from their perspective, since they're evil, and this is a whole Ponzi scheme with the banks and the gov. This really, not that I have precious metals anymore. I got rid of it all to buy my farm, my last farm with a cabin. This makes land and precious metals all that much more vital. The future seems to be the people that have a rational mind that are going to be holding tangibles. I thought about the complications are vast of creating a tangible coin that you could trade in for water or land or precious metals, something that's actually tangible, based on maybe land and metals and clean water sources. You have X amount of access or X number of thousands of gallons of spring water or X number of acres based upon a tangible coin. The complications of that are incredibly vast, and that would require all sorts of things that are just impossibly expensive. But this is how everything finally collapses. That on top of the second half of this video. And this has gotten so bad, and it's this bad, and it's not just the United States, it's all Western countries. The Netherlands, Denmark, France, Germany, UK, Ireland, Scotland, Australia, Kiwi land, as I humorously call it, the United States, Canada. It's going to be like a new industry for people who can actually think and reason. I don't care, by the way, what anybody ever says about me. I just got to give this one anecdote, and that's why I was actually writing up the notes for this video. People will tell me that they're like feeding my videos into AI and having AI give them the synopsis, or they're having my countless articles and books fed into AI. AI, in case you didn't know it, doesn't think. And I got this from a guy, and it's very horrible. And I don't care what anybody says, just don't lie about me. I put this up on my Facebook. He said, Ken, I fed your teachings to AI. He said your teachings are super anti-life. I've never ever, not only have I never ever said anything that's anti-life, I'm exactly the opposite. At the very minimum, I've saved a minimum of 200 lives. I've had hundreds of emails over what occurred between 2019 to 2021. People telling me I saved theirs, or their family members, or their brother, or their mother, or their father. And exactly 2 little rugrats. I even got sent a picture of one of the rugrats, and I was quite proud of it, of the little rugrat that I actually saved. That little rugrat would not exist if it was not for me. Stuff like that, and it takes a whole lot for me to get me sore. But I don't know if you know those little birds in the nest. They can't eat like worms themselves because they're baby birds, and mama bird will go out and catch a worm and eat the worm and then like regurgitate it to the little baby bird. People don't have a mind. They can't think for themselves anymore. They'll like feed my stuff into AI and ask AI to tell them what it is that the AI thinks and the AI doesn't think at all that I'm saying. So this guy says, your teachings seem, I could show this to you, but I posted it up on Facebook. Your teachings, AI said, after I fed your stuff to AI, says your stuff is super anti-life. I am the furthest thing from anti-life. The furthest thing. The absolute furthest thing. So it takes a lot to actually burn my backside, but that actually burned my backside. And by the way, I'm not a pessimist. In live stream, I was like on live stream last night for 2.5 hours. The night before that, I was on for 3 hours until 3:30 in the morning, just because and the live streams are not monetized. You know, more than half the time, I don't get a single donation at all on the live stream, which is fine. I don't go there for the money. I had a good time. We were laughing. You know, I was listening to people. They were asking me questions. I was talking with people. I just like communicating with people. But people can't think anymore, and I'm not talking about the people on live stream. I don't know if you know this or not, and I'm 52 years old. When I was younger, you could actually talk to somebody for like 30 seconds, and they would just listen and nod their head. At least 30 seconds. Even somebody with a short attention span. Now, I have found out, it's no exaggeration, you can't get 5 seconds out of your mouth, like something important, you know. I'm not talking about something that nobody cares about. I get it, they got no attention span for something like that. Something important. 5 seconds in, they're like, yeah, I know what you're... It's like, well, I haven't finished my sentence yet, you know. I haven't even completed half a sentence yet. And they're nodding their head, and they're like, zoned out. You notice that nobody has a 5-second attention span anymore? I was talking about the metaphysics, and a lot of people want me to create an article about it, and I could do it almost blindfolded so easily. It's about the nature of Black Mirror devices, like computers and phones and tablets and whatnot. It's the nature of how the mind is directed at these devices. And by the way, those devices, not the phones and the iPads, existed thousands of years ago. They actually found them in Aztec temples and other places. And the way in which the mind is focused through those devices is the problem of the nature of what they do. And people right now are, you know, they're completely focused on it. And a lot of people said they wanted an article on that. But there needs to be a new class of, an intellectual class. And I don't mean pseudo-intellectuals or academicians, but people can't process information anymore, and people don't even have a 5-second attention span. And this level of ignorance, combined with the fact of this stable coin, I mean, this is the beginning. I am not trying to sound pessimistic. I am not. I am very upbeat, and I like making people laugh on live stream. I am not, you know, a doom and gloomer. You know, you could you say all the bad things you want, but don't accuse me of being a doom and gloom or pessimist. You can if you want, but I'm not. But this is kind of the beginning of the end. KGB, former KGB, КГБ, Комитет государственной безопасности, по-русскому языка. You speak Russian, by the way. KGB's former KGB, Yuri Bezmenov, is talking about the subversives. And they're only there for the first stage, and that's to destabilize the country. There's an enormous amount of subversives in the United States and a lot of Western countries right now, and they're perfect for destabilization, which is what their modus operandi is, and most of them are unconscious of this. They think they're going to be the reapers of the benefits, but they're not. Even in Soviet Russia, the people that destabilized became absolutely worthless once the goals were achieved. And Yuri Bezmenov talked about this. He called him useful idiota. Or in Russian, the word would be duraki. There's a great book. You should get it on Amazon or find it. It's called Political Ponerology. Ponerology from the Greek word evil. It's the study of evil. It's called Political Ponerology. And check out that book. How moral and competent and sane people are pushed out or destroyed, and the playground of power for those that are under the influence of psychopathy. You have the spellbinders, the charismatic mouthpieces and celebrities and pundits, that try to sway the bystanders. Those who are spellbound, the true believers, are also the brown shirts. This would, of course, be the useful idiota, adaptive conformists, these people that go along to get along. They know better, but they're declawed and defanged, and they just sit there like, meek little dobbies. Yes, master. Dobby, do what master say, master. There's a Harry Potter reference, by the way. I never read those books, and I couldn't stand the movies. I watched that when I was very ill a few years ago. I kind of regret watching it because it's such a horrible, horrible series of movies. This is proof that you could spend hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars on a string of movies. It's just so intellectually corrosive. It's just like eating candy bars or something. Not that I eat candy bars. It's just absolutely horrible. And adaptive conformists, the resistors, these are the people that, of course, are pushed out and destroyed. And then you have the gross of people who are the bystanders. These are the unintelligent, the confused, and the afraid. I see this everywhere. I see this right now of what's going on in the UK, very, very unfortunately, also to Australia and Kiwi land. We're in an age, and this is the Kali Yuga, right in the heart of it. Actually, the beginning of it, not the heart of it, where truth is treason and sanity is literally called extremism. That's what sanity is called. If you're sane and you're rational and truthful, oh, you're the fringe. And people get confused by this, but if you know the great picture of what's happening, this is all very, very, very predictable. Nobody has honor or accountability anymore. I found out, and quite shocking to me, and almost nothing shocks me. I got a couple of these, by the way. They're recently on sale for $35. It's a recording device. You can put it like a police body cam. I was shocked at the fact. I used a couple people that I tried to get them to do their job. They just completely incompetent. They couldn't do their job to save their life. If I did stuff like that back when I was working, the regular jobs, I would have been fired instantly. And I used the word accountability on these people, and you thought I was holding up a cross to a vampire. They got extremely upset that I used the word accountability. I'm going to continue, and I found that that's the cross to the vampire thing now. I was really surprised of all the words that can be used to people that are utterly incompetent, that I never thought one thing that would have upset so many people, especially since that's a big word for anti-intellectual people. Accountability, big word. And it really, really upset them. I used that word, and they got one lady. She's a government worker for the deed room of a particular county. She got so flaming mad, and I told her, I said, you need to calm down. You need to dial it back a little bit. Stop being emotional here. And she goes, no, I will not. She got really angry, and I used the word accountability again. I'm going to continue to use that word because it is really, really awesome. I had no idea that that word would be so effective, especially on people with a low and small vocabulary of anti-intellectuals. Or as Yuri Bezmenov, a former KGB agent, called them, useful idiota. Apparently that's one word that they do know. It's kind of like a demon that doesn't speak English. You could speak to them in English, they still understand it. So examples of this, of demonically possessed people that are speaking perfect Latin, that have never had a single day of learning Latin in their life. They're speaking perfect Latin. For example, this guy that fed my material, and I've had more than a few people do that. If you do that, what you do is your own business, but don't ever tell me, please, that you've been feeding my stuff to AI or my books or my articles. I don't want to hear about it, because this means that you can't think at all for yourself. And that very idea, even 10, 15 plus years ago, even 10 years ago, it would have been considered so ludicrous. Let me get this straight. You know how to speak the language, but you're too lazy to read it yourself, so you fed it into a computer algorithm to tell you what the synopsis of it was. That's not just lazy, it's ineptitude, it's anti-intellectual, it's all sorts of wrong. But the one thing I told, and I had a lot of people in 2019 and 2020 tell me that that'd be the central bank digital currency. And I know you're going to say right now on this stable coin, it's like, oh, they said they're going to put in there to block and ban central bank digital currency, and that's not the case. Senators said in the House, or is it in the Senate, that it doesn't have enough votes to put in the wedge that bans CBDCs. So stablecoin, or the Genius Act, has already been signed into law. But the addendum or whatever in the House or the Senate to stop CBDCs, this doesn't have the votes to pass. This is real, and it creates a whole, I think this is people in the know. It's the reason why I told people to get platinum when it was at $860. I don't know if you know what platinum is right now. You should go check what the price of platinum is, spot price per ounce. It's over double that. I think on precious metals, this is what's happening. People in the know knew that this was going to pass, and there's a new supersurgence of tangibles, and it's going to be land and gold, silver, platinum. Gold's too high right now, though. Silver's too high. I told somebody that I know, to pick up some silver a week and a half ago, and silver has gone off since then, even. Tell me what you think about this, but this Genius Act, signed into law by the guy that, I'm a stable genius, you know that guy? The people that are big supporters of his, and I'm a supporter of nobody, I'm a supporter of common sense and wisdom. I think everybody was distracted about the list and the absence of the list being out in public, and they used that opportunity of everybody being agitated over that to slip in this Genius Act. And this is it's just all kinds of wrong in every way possible. And by God, if I get a vacation anytime in the near future, I'm never, by the way, ever going to accept an invitation to travel somewhere else on Earth, because every time it's happened to me, I didn't get to see anything. Like New York City and Idaho, there's no such thing as a free lunch. It's like, hey, come over here. We'd like you to give a conference for a day or two, and then you could see all the sights that are in the area. I was told that about Idaho. I didn't get to see a single thing. Nothing. I was like, wow, I'm so close to the Canadian border, I'd love to see Canada. No, didn't get to see Idaho, didn't get to see Canada. And I guess that's the way it rolls for me. But I'm 52 years old. The only thing I'd like to do is to meet some of you people and get out and see some stuff. And I don't know, if I have to sell everything that I own to do it, up to a point, I guess I'm going to have to do that. But every time I've had the opportunity, I've been robbed of the opportunity to see anything. And to me, I find that incredibly unfortunate, but that's my own problem, not yours, obviously, but I did want to talk about that. So tell me what you think about this Genius Act. I told you this was going to happen. I told you, and it's happened. Thanks for watching. Catch you in live stream, by the way.